You're listening to Covering the Fields with your host, Joe Ellison.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Covering the Field, the weekly program that analyzes all sports, handicaps them, and makes and reviews predictions. I'm your host, Joe Ellison, and today we're going to talk about pro football, college football, Major League Baseball, the NBA, hockey, NASCAR, and our You Got Hosed segment. We'd like to remind you listeners to email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Please give us your feedback, tell us your You Got Hosed stories, and visit our coveringthefield.com website. Find us on Twitter at coveringfield. Now, kicking things off this week, I'd like to introduce our football expert, Big Richard Martin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Joe. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. 1/3 of the regular season is already finished in the National Football League as Week 6 is now in the books. What caught your eye last week?
Well, in the NFL, what caught my eye is the Cardinals continue to roll. They smashed Cleveland last week, 37-14. Kyler Murray looks like he's an MVP candidate. Their coach goes out with COVID. They had COVID running through their locker room. Doesn't matter. That Cardinal team is just money, don't you think?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like maybe coaching can be a bit overrated as Kingsbury was out with COVID. John Gruden resigned, and the Raiders also won easily. But
so why are we paying these guys $10 million to coach? That's what I don't understand. You need to pay someone $10 million to throw that football and catch the football. What do you think about that, Joe?
Well, yeah, I think coaching is very important, and I think eventually it will make a difference. But, of course, Arizona's coach will come back. The Raiders coach will not come back. We'll see how it ends up at the end of the year. But, sure, for a week it looked like it didn't seem to matter at all.
No, it didn't matter not last week. But what about the L.A. Rams? They crushed the Giants, going to the Meadowlands on the road. Cooper Kupp goes completely off. Stafford looks like a superstar. They're looking like one of the top teams in the NFC. They rolled over just like our pick said. And what also caught my eye, Joe, was all the overtime games. I mean, you had the Cowboys 35-29 over the Pats. You had Vikings 34-28 over Carolina. And you had the Steelers going into overtime 23-20 over Seattle on the Monday night game. And the Monday night, the game, the Bills in Tennessee, that should have went to overtime if they had kicked the field goal. Josh Allen falls on the 1-yard line. And the game was over. So really, really interesting week.
Yes. Well, through 6 weeks, 24 games have been decided in the final minute or overtime, which is the most in history. And in 4 of these weeks, at least 2 games have gone to overtime. So, yes, we're having what the league wanted, parity.
Parity, except for the Cardinals. They just stand out above everybody else. They're flying high, just like our guy Charles said they would at the beginning of the year.
Yes. And, of course, Detroit, our only winless team, our first team ever to lose 2 games on game-winning field goals of 50 yards or more.
And it was more.
No time left.
And it was more than 50. It was a 56-yarder?
66.
66-yarder, yeah. So
54. So
exactly.
Yeah, they just keep finding new ways to lose. We keep saying that.
Yeah, well, next week you got Jared Goff and Stanford to swap the quarterbacks. They're going to be going head-to-head in SoFi this week, and so that's going to be an interesting game.
It's going to be another loss for Detroit. Question is by how much? I would also mention that Jacksonville won last week. After 20 consecutive losses, the second longest streak ever, behind Tampa Bay's expansion team that started with 26 straight losses. Seattle quarterback Russell Wilson, his streak of 149 straight starts ended because of a hand injury, and they almost won, like you said.
Right.
Anyway.
Great second half by Seattle.
Dallas gained the most yards ever in a game against Bill Belichick. Of course, it did go overtime. But it could be Dallas's year. Prescott gets hurt, but they happen to be on a bye week, and he's not going to miss any time, and it seems like he's going to be fine.
Everything's coming up aces for Dallas right now.
And it's pretty amazing. So, as far as handicapping is concerned, how did your picks do in the NFL last week?
NFL went 2 out of 5. Dropped the Monday night game and the Sunday night game. Just tough losses, man. I lost the San Diego game, the Chargers, L.A. Charger game. They just didn't seem like they even got off the plane. Baltimore started beating them right off the coin flip, and they didn't stop till the last second of the game, that's for sure. So LA, I think everybody thought their defense was going to come to play, and the only defense that played was on Baltimore's side, is wearing purple, that's for sure.
Yes. Well, I also had the Chargers. I can't say I want to talk about my NFL picks last week because they weren't good. Who do you like in Week 7?
Yeah, let's get a bounce-back week in the NFL. So let's just start with Carolina. They're at the New York Giants. New York Giants are really banged up. As you know, Barkley's going to be out again with that sore ankle. They just lost another offensive lineman, so now they only have 2 of their starting offensive linemen from Week 1 are on that starting this week against Carolina. Carolina doesn't have their best McCaffrey, their best player on the team, but I think they get it done. New York Giants look absolutely horrible. Tony's their star rookie receiver, he's out again. I think Carolina gets it done. Drop the 3 and take that easy money with Carolina.
And you have another pick for?
I like Atlanta. I like Atlanta going into Miami. I know Tua's back, and he's hitting his best friend Waddle from Alabama. He looks good. I like Atlanta dropping 3. Matt Ryan hasn't thrown an interception in 3 weeks. He seems like they're starting to groove. I think they're ready to roll. I'm going to take Atlanta, drop the 3 at Miami in a close game. And, of course, we like TB12 in Tampa Bay. I like them minus 12.5 over Chicago. Justin Fields has been sacked 18 times this year, and he didn't even start one game. So he's spent a lot of time on the ground. I think Tampa Bay dials a whole bunch of blitzes up, and they get it done. Take Tampa Bay.
Okay. Is that all you got?
That's my picks on the NFL.
I don't have any of those, by the way.
Okay, let's see what you have, Joe.
Well, I'm liking the Baltimore and Cincinnati game under the 47. Just watching Cincinnati play, they've had 5 consecutive unders in their games, their last 5 weeks.
Okay.
And all 3 of their road games have gone under. And after watching Baltimore's defense last week, holding the Chargers to 6, I see a pretty good physical NFC North battle right there. I like Green Bay minus the 9.5 against Washington. Green Bay is on a 4-0-1 streak covering the spread. Won both their home games by double digits. The spread's only 9.5. Washington, a very poor 1-5 against the spread.
They have been. What happened to their defense this year? I mean, their defense was so amazing last year, and it just seems like they just can't get it together. Everybody's just scoring at will on those guys. They're giving them 20, 30 points up a game.
Now, I thought they had some offense and were going to score against Kansas City last week. And
yeah, they threw 2. Kansas City shut them out in the second half.
Unbelievable.
They just. It must have been a great speech by Andy Reid. Got those guys fired up, or. Definitely had a different game plan on how to stop Washington because they stopped them right in their tracks the second half.
Yeah, my final pick, I'm going to take New England minus the 7 against the Jets for only really one reason. They just played a few weeks ago. New England won 25-6 at the Jets. I can't imagine the Jets staying within a touchdown in New England the next time around. It's still that Belichick against rookie quarterback theory.
And you got Matt Jones playing great out there in New England, rookie quarterback coming up. I mean, they had every chance to win that game against Dallas.
Tough loss.
It was a tough loss. He played great, except for the pick. Tip pick, and Diggs had that pick 6, and that seemed to cost him.
Right.
I'm going to take another one. I'm going to go ahead and go with Kansas. I'm going to go with Tennessee plus 5 at home against Kansas City. Kansas City is 2. I've only covered the spread 2 times this year. So it seems like they're just, this looks like a field goal game. This is a heavyweight AFC fight. I think Kansas City's got to get a win. They're going to have to squeak it out. I think Henry runs on them pretty heavily. I think that's a field goal game. So I'll go and take the 5 on. I'll take Tennessee and then plus 5.
Okay. You want to move on to college football?
Let's move on to college football.
Right. What were the big stories in the NC2A last week?
Well, last week, Georgia looks really convincing win again over Kentucky. They didn't cover the spread. It was 21.5, and the score was 30-13. But the defense looked outstanding. Kentucky couldn't really do much with the ball. LSU was one of the, Big Richard's pick of the week last week. Last week in college football, 8-2. If you look at the Tricky Ricky picks of the weeks on the websites, they're 3-4 on both this week and last week. The Tricky Ricky risky picks are 75%, and we were 8-2, 80% on the picks last week. So the college football picks are coming along. Make a lot of money on Saturday and trying to give a little bit back on Sunday. Wasn't too good on the NFL for us, but we also did really good. You did good on your picks, didn't you?
I went 3-0. I had Syracuse. They lost by 3 to Clemson, getting 13. Or Texas San Antonio.
Telling you, just broke the top 25.
Yep. Beat Rice 45-0. Laying it was not even 20 points, I don't believe.
Right, and they're what their record's what 7-0 now, and they're
whatever they are, they're undefeated.
And they've only haven't covered the spread one time. So, of course we like them this week. We're going to bet them every week.
And I squeaked by with Michigan State minus the 3.5. I guess it went off at 4.5. Either way, they won by 5 at Indiana. So. I don't know how that happened, but I went 3-0.
That's a great job, Joe, and it's great for our listeners out there if you can make a little bit of cash on Saturday. I think the big game, though, was Purdue beat number 2 Iowa. You know what? I don't think anybody saw this coming. Everybody thought that Iowa, after coming off a convincing win against Penn State, the defense out there in Iowa, and Purdue goes in there, gets the job done. Now they're only one game behind Iowa, and they'll have the tiebreaker, so they're very much alive, in the Big 12 West, or the Big 10 West.
Yes. Now Purdue just cracked the top 25 for the first time since 2007. That was the longest drought by any Power 5 team.
Wow.
Yes. Now Kansas has the new one, and
they're not seeing them go top 25 anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. So Cincinnati now moves up to number 2.
Yes.
And they're the last non-power 5 team to be number 2. You have to go back to 2010. TCU finished at number 2. They got hosed out of the playoff that year. I think
they sure did.
Defeated. And Boise State was also at number 2 that year. And us people in northern Nevada all know what happened to that team.
Oh, yes.
Ran into Colin Kaepernick, and next thing you know, they lost, and that was the best year Nevada ever had.
Yeah, well, besides this year. So they look pretty good this year.
Yeah, and I just looked at the AP poll. Nevada doesn't even have a single vote, and they only have one.
The only vote they have is yours and mine, so they have 2 votes. But I think if they get a win this week at Fresno, I think that they have a really good chance to top the top 12.
Fresno is getting a vote.
Yes.
I think like 1. And Oklahoma 3, Alabama 4. The Big Ten is ranked 5 through 8. Michigan State. We've got Penn State and
Ohio State.
There you go. Not in that order.
Not in that order.
No. So yes, and you mentioned LSU beating Florida. They already said they're getting rid of their coach, LSU. Ed Orgeron, gone at the end of the season, even though he just won a championship.
2 years ago he is Burrow, and they win the national championship. Now he's looking for work. I don't see how that happens unless there's just something, with the athletic director. It has to be something internal because the team doesn't look bad. I mean, they're battling so many injuries. They're competing every week. The kids love their coach. He's a great coach. And so, them pulling that 49-42 win off, and when they interviewed him, the first thing he says, he goes, just give the credit to the kids. I mean, he's just such a great, humble coach. I think, he has the Cajun accent. I think he's just a perfect fit for LSU. So he won't be out of work very long because I think he's a good coach.
He will get another job.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yep. Okay, and the other one was Cincinnati. We talked about them covering the spread every week, 56-21 over UCF. That game was 28-0 in the first half. I mean, they were just rolling. Spencer Ryder looks great. The running game looked great. The defense looked great. I mean, every aspect of their team is good. So I think they're pretty sitting at 2 right now. I think there's, they can run the table. They've got a pretty soft schedule, except for they have I think they have SMU coming up in second to the last game of the year. Mm-hmm. So that'll be their only test before getting into the championship part of the season.
You did mention LSU beating Florida. Now, no team from the state of Florida is in the top 25 for the first time since 2011.
Wow. Yeah,
Miami, no Florida State.
Wow. I mean, it's a change in the guard and parity like you were talking about. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the ACC. What about Kenny Pickett out there at Pitt? He's having a monster year. He has 1,939 yards, 21 touchdowns with only 1 interception. He goes into Virginia Tech, beats the Hoyas 28-7, just manhandled them. That game was over in the the third quarter, he was cruising. He's poised in the pocket. Doesn't seem like nothing rattles him. Like I said, 21 touchdowns. He's having a great year, and his name's starting to be noticed in the Heisman. Definitely he's looking for an NFL quarterback as he's one of the super seniors. Then we also had an injury. We've talked about Heisman candidate Matt Carroll. For Ole Miss, he's questionable. He had an ankle injury. They said it was an ankle stinger. I've never heard of a stinger in the ankle, but it sounds like a twisted ankle or something happened. He's definitely not good. Lane Kiffin said that his state right now is he's not in good shape. So you want your quarterback in good shape when they're going to come play LSU this week. And I think those kids are going to play tough for LSU. If you look at LSU's quarterback, Max Johnson, the son of Brad Johnson, he has 20 touchdowns and 1,868 yards. Matt Carroll has 14 touchdowns and 1,728 yards passing. So his passing numbers are better. The only difference is he has Matt Carroll has 8 rushing touchdowns with 450 yards. And last week, Lane Kiffin rushed the quarterback 30 runs. No wonder his ankle's hurting. So we're going to go and take LSU +9. Get it now before they say Matt Carroll doesn't play. Their backup quarterback doesn't have any, only had 1 snap all season. Look at LSU, take that 9. I think that the kid's going to play tough for him.
A couple more games I did want to mention before I get to my picks. Louisiana Monroe, 33-point underdog to Liberty. It was the only game that did not have a money line on it. And sure enough, the biggest one.
Yeah, I like that $5 of that, that's for sure.
The books are sneaky like that.
Yep.
And, of course, Nevada beating Hawaii by 17. The last time they played in Reno at Mackey Stadium, they lost to Hawaii 54-3. So, big revenge for Nevada in that one.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have more picks you wanted?
Yeah, let's go and talk about SMU. I like them -14 against Tulane. That's a Thursday night game. So drop to 14. I think the Mustangs run right over them. Pony Express is going to be running. Tulane is 1-5. SMU is rated in the top 25. Drop to 14. I like Pitt against Clemson. They're at home. They're -3. You know that this is the season. I mean, I think that everybody thinks right now they're looking that Pitt is the favorite to win that ACC right now. They're playing the best in the ACC. Clemson's defense is banged up. You know, they barely squeaked by Syracuse. I mean, the kid could have kicked a field goal and put it in overtime in the Syracuse game. Pitt with their stud quarterback, Kenny Pickett. Let's go and take Pitt, drop to 3.
I was going to say, when's the last time Clemson's been an underdog in an ACC game?
Yeah, well, you see there's no top 25 number next to their name, and they're struggling this year. TJ Uiagalelei is having a tough season in his first year, but, you know, Debo will have that team ready to play. You know that. But I just think it's Pitt's year. I think this kid's the new Dan Marino out of Pitt, and I think Kenny Pickett, let's take him.
What else you got?
I got Ohio State. They're dropping. It opened at 20. It's now to 21. I'm saying they roll in Indiana. They're at home. So I think that Ohio State give that 21 points. They have just been on fire. C.J. Stroud has just been having a monster season ever since his loss to Oregon. I like Ohio State. I think they run up another 50 points on Indiana.
I've got that one, so.
Good news.
My picks.
Good.
You like that?
And then NC State -3 at Miami. I think that NC State's been playing good. Miami has been dropping games. I mean, they're starting to come back a little bit. I think they had a win last week. I'm going to take NC State, drop 3. And those are my picks. I'll have the other picks on the Tricky Ricky Picks of the Week on the website. Let's go and make some cash this week.
I was very close to taking NC State. I didn't put that on my list, but I just did now since you like that one. I'm going to try, besides Ohio State, I'm going to try Oklahoma State plus the 7 at Iowa State. They're undefeated. They don't seem to be getting any respect. They're trying to end up undefeated just like Oklahoma at the end of the season.
Well, that'd be a great game.
The Bedlam series would be really amazing if that were to happen.
Well, Oklahoma, if you look at their win, they're only averaging winning by 7 points. So this is the first team since 1936 that has been 6-0 that has only have a 7-point winning percent, 7 point points favored. So they have played great. I think Texas had them on the ropes. They were going down to drive last, and Casey Thompson throws a pick six. They were going the other way, and that turned the tide in the game. So they're just a little bit like Iowa. They have a great defense. They're solid. Solid, like you said, you don't get 6-0 unless you're solid, not turning the ball over. But I think if they get behind the sticks and get behind the points, I think it's going to be a little bit too much for them to come over. So they're going to get a loss sometime during the season. I don't know if it's this week, but they'll definitely have a loss.
I'm going to try also Notre Dame minus the 6.5 against USC. I'm not a big fan of USC. If I get a chance to bet against them, I do. Not that Notre Dame's playing that great, but they're certainly better than USC. Yeah, I was going to take a shot on TCU minus the 4.5 against West Virginia. I watched TCU play last week. I like the style of play they went and the coaching, and I'm not sure how good West Virginia is, but I'm pretty sure TCU is going to get that game. So, thank you, Richard, and we'll have you on later on the You Got Ho segment.
All right, thanks a lot, Joe. Let's have another big week in college football.
Next up to talk about the playoffs is our Major League Baseball analyst, Ronnie McKinnon. How's it going today, Ronnie?
Joe, I'm doing cool. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Where we left off last Wednesday, we were getting ready to watch the deciding Game 5 of the series between San Francisco and the Los Angeles Dodgers. What happened in that game?
Yeah, that was it was an exciting game. The Dodgers ended up winning by a run late, and there was a controversial call.
Check swing
in that game. Correct. But personally, I didn't think he went. So
it was a bad call.
I think it was a bad call. They happen. It actually happened to the Dodgers back in July against the Giants, and it was actually Darren Ruffin. He clearly took a swing. Everybody everywhere agreed it wasn't called. The Dodgers were winning that game. They ended up losing it, and they finished one game behind the Giants. So
nobody remembers that, but they do remember.
It was on July 22nd, and I think it's important to remember. I agree. I don't think this was a swing, and unfortunately, that happens a lot in Major League Baseball.
So Max Scherzer saved that game, his first save ever. So then in the National League Championship Series, we get the Dodgers against Atlanta, and Max Scherzer starts Game 1. What about that decision by manager Dave Roberts?
Well, I didn't agree with it. And after the game, Scherzer didn't last that long. He didn't do terrible, but he said his arm was dead.
Oh.
That's the term he used, and
he hasn't pitched since.
No, and he's now scheduled to pitch Game 6 if it goes that far, which I think it will.
Okay. So it's not completely dead then?
No, it was just, that's a term, a phrase they use. He had a dead arm, and he said he felt it pretty early on and pretty much knew he wasn't going to go too far. So
Atlanta won Game 1 and Game 2, meaning LA must win 4 out of 5 in order to get to the World Series.
That's right.
The Dodgers, however, have won 8 consecutive home games against Atlanta and 12 out of 13. So maybe that might not be the worst situation for the
No,
Dodgers.
actually, last year they did it in the conference championship to Atlanta. They were down 2-0 and 3-1 and actually won that series and went on to win the World Series. So there's been 2-0 deficits like 14 times. And, so in World Series and conference championships combined. So, it's actually when you're down 2-0, in a best-of-7 series, 73 out of 87 have that were up 2-0-1. That's 84%. So,
That's pretty strong.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. But, the Dodgers can do it. They've done it, and they can do it again, and I believe they will.
Yeah, Atlanta looking for revenge from last year, as you mentioned, 3-1. It was pretty
Correct.
impressive. Atlanta giving up only 6 runs in 4 games to Milwaukee, who I thought was a pretty good team. 22 straight innings they went without scoring, Milwaukee. So.
Yeah, I was surprised by that myself.
Heck of a
So,
battle.
because the Milwaukee pitching staff, pretty amazing. But
And you predicted LA in 7, so we're on our way to that. I'll say Atlanta in 7 just because of the fact that to win 4 out of 5 just it sounds difficult to me.
Sure. Well, it's not easy, and especially when Atlanta has the home field advantage.
Oh, yes.
If
Game
they go
7 would be
7,
in
4 of
Atlanta.
those games will be in Atlanta, as opposed to 3 in LA. So.
Okay. And in the American League, it's Boston and Houston. It seems like the story of Boston manager Alex Cora. What has his journey been like through this?
Yeah, he's been a great manager for them, and he went through that thing with Houston.
He was the
actually.
bench coach when they won the World
Exactly,
Series.
and
Yes.
were found to have been cheating. Anyway, since he's been with Boston, he's just done an amazing job, and I think he knows baseball, and he's a good player manager. So he's doing great. He's an ex-Dodger too. He used to play shortstop for the Dodgers. So
Yes, he won the World Series as a bench coach, hired by Boston in 2018, wins the World Series.
yeah,
Then the scandal comes out for stealing signs.
correct.
Yes, and so Boston
Yeah.
fires him, even
Right.
though he was with Houston at the time.
Right, and he admitted he was part of it, like most of those players and coaches on Houston did. That admitted that they did it. So
Then Boston had a horrible year, and they rehire Cora in November of 2020.
right,
And that's kind of one of the
Yeah.
reasons why nobody expected Boston to be any good. Was last year they were so terrible.
Exactly, and they've surprised everybody, and they're still doing it. They were up 2-1 because they won 1 in Houston, and then last night Houston got some revenge and had a 7-run 9th inning and won 9-2. So it's tied 2-2, and Game 5 is playing right now. It started at 2:00 our time, or a little after.
2 comebacks yesterday. Dodgers and Astros
Yeah.
both came back.
Yeah, that was a huge comeback for the Dodgers, obviously, being down 2-0 and being down 5-2 with 1 out in the 8th inning. Yeah,
Pretty amazing.
pretty big. Yeah.
Houston now in 5 straight American League Championship Series, which is amazing. That's only been done twice before, where a team went to 5 in a row. The A's were one of them. I remember that because
Right.
I was alive and I'm an A's fan. And I
Right.
can't.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the Braves was the other one in their long streak of
Atlanta again. Yeah.
of not making it to the World
Exactly. Right. I mean, these two teams can hit, Boston and Houston. Right now, it's like before today's game, Boston scored 27 runs, Houston scored 22. The pitching, I thought, I kind of thought maybe Houston would have a little advantage in the beginning, but the Boston pitchers have actually done better.
Series. Have these injuries to Lance McCullers or Chris Sale made any difference?
Well, Sale did not pitch well at all, and he was starting tonight's game.
Oh, okay.
Right now
Okay.
against Valdez for Houston, who also didn't fare well in his first outing.
Well, Sale's a 7-time All-Star, but he hasn't been pitching a whole lot lately.
Right.
He's been injured. But McCullers
Right.
was pitching a lot lately and just recently got hurt. What's his outlook?
I
He
think
is their best pitcher.
Yeah, I think he'll pitch. He'll pitch again.
Okay. Good. So we'll look out for that. So Boston in games 1 and 2 had a total of 3 grand slams.
Yeah.
That's never before been done in a series. And I will say that if Boston gets to a clinching situation, since 2004, they're 15-3 in series clinching games. So
2004 is actually when they finally won a World Series after a long time. They were down 3-0 to the Yankees to
Yes.
get to the World Series, so that was
4 in
yeah.
a row right there.
Exactly, and this is a good series. These two teams can hit, and they've showed that, and especially Kiki Hernandez, one of the ex-Dodgers, now that he gets to play all the time, he's just been, phenomenal. There was actually also 2 of those 3 grand slams were in 1 inning, which has never happened. So.
Oh, okay. So you predicted Boston in 7. I'd like to say Boston in 6. If they do happen to win Game 5, according to these numbers here, as far as clinching, they would probably just immediately win if they get to that point.
Yeah.
Now, if they're down 3-2, Then they'll have to win 2 more, I guess.
I think it'll
Yeah.
go 7 either way, whatever. I really do.
I'm hoping so.
So.
So you've got LA beating Boston in the World Series. That was our new prediction last week.
That's right.
We had to change that
Yeah,
up.
and that'll be a rematch from 2018, when they handled the Dodgers, clearly 4-1, and but this year will be different.
I will say I'll pick Boston to beat Atlanta. I know I've got Atlanta winning in 7 just because of the home field, and we'll see how that
But you have
goes.
Boston winning, and they don't have home field.
No, no, but that's different. I like Boston.
Right.
And
Well,
plus,
there you
I'm
go.
writing my
So do I. I do too.
75 to 1 future bet on Boston. I'm just hoping beyond hope because that's the only one I have left.
Yeah.
Yeah. One final story. How about the firing of St. Louis manager Mike Schill over quote unquote philosophical differences? What happened there?
Well, if that's the real story, right? And we
Yeah.
don't know that for sure. A lot of times they'll just say personality conflict, but it's always something else usually. And I don't agree. I think he's done a really good job with St. Louis. They had that 17-game winning streak to all of a sudden, bam, they're in the wild card game, and the Dodgers just beat them by a run. I don't agree with that. Obviously, the Padre manager got fired, and I think everybody knew that was coming when you have a team that
Totally falls apart.
was supposed to be, right up there with the Dodgers, and ended up being with the Giants too. But
I think they ended up
they should
below
have been
500.
They
the
did
Padres.
actually.
Yeah,
they
that's hard to
didn't
believe.
even make 500, and they should have ended up over 20 games, over 500 easily. And so yeah, that's when the coaches got to go.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Cardinal fan. This guy is a former National League Manager of the Year, let alone that 17-game win streak. I mean, the timing
Yeah.
seems very strange.
Yeah, there's usually always something else that we don't know about, and it's I think that's pretty clear here that something else is going on besides just personality conflicts. I believe anyway.
All right. Well, thank you, Ronnie. And we'll have you on again next week and talk some more Major League Baseball.
Right on. Thanks, Joe, for having me.
Our final guest today is hockey and NASCAR fan Gator Gates. How are you feeling, Gator?
Oh, I'm great, Joe. Thank you.
Before we get to the National Hockey League, we have to talk about Reno's new semi-professional hockey team.
Yeah, Joe, Reno Ice Raiders are a senior semi-pro team. They will be playing at Jennifer M. O'Neill Community Ice Arena in South Reno. Now, their first home game is October 30th at 8 o'clock against Santa Rosa Growlers, and tickets are $30, Joe.
Yes, they are the former NorCal Ice Raiders. Their first game will be Friday, but it's on the road. And as you said, first home game is on the 30th. Jennifer M. O'Neill Community Ice Arena just opened this year. I guess the O'Neill family was the initial $2 million donation to the arena and $9.5 million to make it.
Yeah, that's great, Joe. That's really great for the for Reno.
Absolutely. It's going to be a 25-game schedule, 19 at home from what I saw, which is very nice, very favorable for us. The Mountain West Hockey League. But, of course, this isn't the first time we've had pro hockey in Reno.
Oh, no, Joe.
Oh, yes. We had the Reno Aces. It was like an independent team from 1970 to 74. We had the Reno Broncos from the Southwest Hockey League in 1975. They folded in December, so they might have played for 2 months maybe. The Reno Gamblers from the Pacific Southwest Hockey League in 1980. They folded after 6 games. That's quite the shame there.
Yeah, no, it sounds like the history in Reno. Hockey is not very.
But it got better. The Reno Renegades of the West Coast Hockey League in 95 to 97, which were then renamed the Reno Rage in 97, who folded shortly before the 98 season. So we actually had like a 3-year run. So hopefully, that was minor league hockey.
Sure.
This is semi-professional hockey. What's the difference, basically?
Well, this is senior semi-pro hockey.
Okay.
Senior, so I'm not sure, Joe. I've never been to a game or even seen a game, so I'm not exactly sure how it goes.
We're not affiliated with, like, the Golden Knights or anybody.
Oh no, it seems just like just another league for people that want to still play hockey.
Well, $30 a ticket. Could be like general admission or something. That's all it says.
Well, that's what
$30.
that's what it sounds like to
Everybody's
me,
gonna
Joe.
rush to their seats.
Um,
try to get on the middle of the red line there.
Yeah, I guess so, Joe.
I don't know. We're gonna have to go to a game to find out.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. See how it works exactly.
No, but do you think $30 is worth it for a semi-pro game?
Well, I would think that there would be a lot of fighting and a lot of pushing and shoving. So yeah, I would say that it would be very entertaining.
Yeah, I'm a hockey fan. I've got a feeling I'm going to get to one of those games one of these days. In the National Hockey League, who's hot right now?
Well, right now I would have to say Connor McDavid. He is on pace for a 200-point season. He did score a goal and 2 assists last night, Joe. And tomorrow they're playing against Arizona. So he has another chance to grab another 3-point night.
If he happens to go 2 points a game, that would be 164 points. So that would, you get 1 point for a goal, 1 point for an assist. That would be a pretty amazing season right there.
Sure. He is, like I said, on pace for a 200-point season. But, the last time that was done is when Wayne Gretzky did it in 85-86.
The only time it's ever been done.
Correct. The only time it's ever been done. Now, again, 200 points is a pretty well reach, out of reach. But he can get to 150, like you said, Joe. And the last time that was done is when Mario Lemieux did it in 95-96 season.
Mario Lemieux, contemporary of mine, born on my exact same birthday, and also Patrick Roy.
Oh,
10-5-65. We all three were born
I
on
did
the
not
exact
know
same
that,
day.
Joe.
Yeah, hard to believe, huh?
Yeah.
2 great hockey players, and little old me born on the same day. And who else has been hot lately?
Well, St. Louis, they're 2-0, and they've in those 2 games they've scored 12 goals, Joe. Also, Seattle did win their first game against Nashville 4-3 on Thursday. And San Jose, surprising, they're 10-0 against Montreal. And Montreal right now is 0-4 or 0-4-0. Haven't won a game.
So you're expecting a San Jose win in that one?
Yeah, well, they did. They won.
They
already beat them last night again. 5-1, I believe. Let me make sure, Joe.
Okay, well, they beat them. That's all that matters. You only have to win by 1 in hockey, which is what makes hockey, in my opinion, the best team sport to bet on.
Sure.
I would say baseball probably the second easiest. You don't have to deal with point spreads. So winning is winning in hockey. So our buddy San Jose Sharks forward Evander Kane made the news again this week. And again, it wasn't for anything good.
No, Joe. Evander Kane is suspended for 21 games for violation of and lack of compliance COVID-19 protocol. He will be out until November 30th when the Sharks take on the New Jersey Devils. Now, Joe, he submitted a fake COVID-19 vaccination card to the NHL and the Sharks. Now, the good news about this is that the money that he's going to be forfeiting is going to the Players' Emergency Assistance Fund. That's per the terms of the collective bargaining agreement. Now, Vander said in a statement, and I quote, "I made a mistake, one I sincerely regret and take responsibility for. Now, during my suspension, I will continue to participate in counseling to help me make better decisions in the future. When my suspension is over, I plan to return to the ice with a great effort, determination, and the love of the game of hockey." Now, Joe, this is his 6th suspension. He had 2 games for an illegal hit in 2014 with the Winnipeg Jets, 1 game for violating team rules with the Buffalo Sabres in 2018, 1 playoff game for an illegal check in 2019 while he was with the Sharks, and 3 games for abuse of an official again in 2019, and finally, Joe, 3 games for an elbow in 2020.
Yeah, he has a good publicist, though. That was a very nice speech he had, how he's going to come back and be such a great guy. But last week we were talking about his being sued by a Vegas casino for $500,000, lost $1.5 million gambling last year, lost his wife.
Yeah, that's just totally
some,
downhill.
Yeah, this guy's got some serious problems. Even if he does come back, I don't know how the Sharks are going to accept him.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
It's going to be a tough one. Quickly, moving on to NASCAR. What happened last week? I know we're in Texas.
Yeah, Joe, Kyle Larson, he wins the first. He wins over at Texas to be the first driver in the round of 4. Now, Joe, he did lead 256 laps of the 334, and he did get his 8th win of the season. Now, in the final stage, there were 7 restarts, and there were 3 incidences that involved playoff contenders Logano, Hamlin, and Truex.
Yeah, that's domination. It certainly looks like he's the favorite to win the championship.
I would say so, Joe, even no matter what happens in Phoenix, and I know we're in the playoff system, but to me, he has dominated so much, he should be the winner this year.
Generally, you have to win the last race, although you don't necessarily have to, but it seems like the guy who wins the championship does win the last race, the final playoff, the Super Bowl, if you will, of NASCAR racing.
Correct.
But, we have Kansas this week and Martinsville next week, and then the final.
Yeah, correct. Sunday is Kansas, and like I said, Larson's in. Blaney, has the most points. Right behind him is Hamlin. He's 8 points behind Blaney, and Kyle Busch is sitting in that 4th spot. He's 1 point behind Hamlin. But on the bubble, Joe, we have Elliott, and he's 8 points behind, which means he could still get, in there by points.
The defending champion from last year.
Correct.
Not, if it were the playoff, the final were to start today, he would not be in it. Go on.
Yes, correct. And then, now these 3 drivers, Joe, I think that they have to win the race or they're not going to make it. And I just say that because you do not want to be out of the top 4 going into Martinsville.
Right.
Too many things can happen at Martinsville.
Right. You can't count on anything for sure in Martinsville.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
But Truex, my driver, I'm still going to go with Truex. He's at 8.5 to 1. And Kozlowski is 15 to 1 and Logano's 18 to 1. So good prices on those drivers.
Yeah, Larson, even though he's already in the final, how can you bet against him right now? I mean, he could win even though he doesn't need to win.
No, correct. And Joe, if you do take him, he's at 2.5. So if you really think Larson's going to win that race, that's a really good price.
Okay. Well, he hasn't, that I noticed, he has not won on this track. So, or he hasn't.
I don't think
recently,
so. Yeah.
So it would be a first for him. Well, thank you, Gator.
Oh, you're so welcome, Joe.
We'll hear from you later on the You Got Host segment.
Great, Joe. Thanks so much.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time for the moments we've all been waiting for. The stories that make us furious about bets that appeared surely to be winners, but in the end something went horribly wrong and they ended up being losers. It's a segment we affectionately call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
So, Big Richard, do you have a You Got Hosed story this week?
Oh man, I got hosed by my whole family. Have everybody over to watch the Dallas Patriots game. Have a whole house full of Dallas Cowboy cousins. I have Rotten Ricky, I have Terrible Tanya, I have I Told You So Tom, and Pistol Pete, all going for the Cowboys. So of course I have to be the one going for the Patriots. So I take the second half, take the 4.5 Patriots. Matt Jones looks good. Belichick's going to get it done. I mean, they already went for it on 4th down on their own 27-yard line. I was like, can they do anything any more stupid? It's just not their day. Seems like a perfect bet. But no, it goes to overtime. All the Cowboys have to do is kick the field goal. They have Legatron Zerline out there. They're on the 40-yard line, and what do? They throw a deep pass, touchdown. CD Lamb comes with a big touchdown, and I got hosed. Everybody's dancing in the living room but me.
Yeah, New England had plenty of chances to win that game. They were up by 3 very late in the game, 30 seconds left, and the overtime, it just un-New England-like. Maybe.
New England, like my face just looked like Belichick's face. Just very, very sad.
Yes, you got hosed. So, Gator, tell us your you got hosed moment of the week.
Okay, well, Joe, let me take you back to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals with Philadelphia 76ers and the Atlanta Hawks.
Ooh, going back a little ways.
Just a little bit. Well, in that game, Joe, Ben Simmons of the 76ers passed up an open dunk shot that would have tied the game with less than 4 minutes left, and they did go on to lose, and that did end their season. Now, on Tuesday, the 76ers suspended Ben for their opener tonight against the Pelicans for conduct detrimental to the team. Doc Rivers asked multiple times to have Simmons sub in on a drill, and he declined several times. Now, Philadelphia center Joe Embiid said that we are not here to babysit anyone and that we're really focused on just winning and playing as a team. Now, the 76ers fined Simmons $1.4 million for his absence of 4 preseason games and also received numerous team fines for missing practices and on-court workouts and meetings. Now, by being suspended for tonight's game, he will lose another $226,000. And Embiid went on to say, "At this point, I don't care about the man. He does whatever he wants." Now, obviously, Joe, he doesn't need the money, and I do understand that misery loves company, but that doesn't give him the right to take down a whole franchise. As long as Ben Simmons is the 76ers nation will continue to get hosed.
Yeah, that's a guy trying to get a trade, but he's making the trade worse and worse for Philadelphia. They're getting less and less as time goes on, because he's being such a pain.
I wouldn't want him on my team, Joe. Would you want that in your locker room?
Absolutely not. So you're right.
I don't even see how his trade value is worth anything to me.
So everybody associated with Philly is getting hosed.
I think so, and like I said, they'll continue as long as this keeps going on.
Right.
Joe, do you have a you got host story?
Well, I had Buffalo money line on a 5-team parlay last Monday. All they had to do was win the game. They've got 4th and half a yard on the Tennessee 3-yard line with about 25 seconds left, down by 3 points. Field goal sends the game at least to overtime, but the Bills decide to go for it. Analytics say Buffalo's chances of winning the game went from 42% to 63% by going for the first down, but in an instant they went to 0% because quarterback Josh Allen got stuffed on a quarterback sneak. Buffalo's gamble doesn't pay off, and neither does my betting ticket. Buffalo moneyline bettors like me got hosed.
Yeah, I agree, Joe. But let me ask you, Joe, do you think that he slipped on that play, or do you think that it was the defense that stopped him? Or
Well, I've seen Tom Brady do quarterback sneaks, and his first step is going forward. And I saw Josh Allen's first step go backwards. He needs to work on his quarterback sneak a little bit.
Okay, I was just wondering, Joe. But yes, you got hosed on a 5-teamer as well.
Yeah.
You got hosed.
So that's it for this week. I'd like to thank my guests, Big Richard Martin, Ronnie McKinnon, and Gator Gates, our producer, our engineer, our editor, and everyone for listening. We'd like you to visit our Covering the Field website, and we'd like to remind you listeners to email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Give us your feedback, your You Got Hosed moments, and any other comments you'd like to give us, and find us on Twitter at Covering Field. Hopefully you all enjoyed the show, and you'll hear us again next week on another episode of Covering the Field.
You've been listening to Covering the Field, a CM World Services and Lesage production.